everyone, it's Elizabeth from Astrology at elpasastrology.com. Thanks for joining me today. So today I am going to do the first half of April, an astrological forecast. And of course, as usual, I will have your sun signs and or ascendants towards the end of the video. But I've decided I really need to separate out both the eclipse, the new moon eclipse, and then the full moon in Scorpio into two separate videos because they're both actually really important for April 2024. All right, so this is a really big month. This is probably the biggest month of the year, maybe even more than the year. We have a Mercury retrograde starting right on the 1st, 2nd of April. That's followed on the 8th of April by that total new moon eclipse. We've got Venus in Aries all month, and we've also got something called a Devil Comet, and it's only because it appears like the devil in terms of a visual. I'll talk about that in a minute too. And then we've got Mars that's in Pisces all month as well. All right, so let's start off with this Mercury retrograde. So the 1st, 2nd of April, it will go retrograde at 27 degrees of Aries. And actually the whole retrograde period will be in Aries. It will go direct on the 26th of April at around 15, 16 degrees of Aries. So note whether or not you've got either of these degree points in your chart of significance. So what are we talking about? A sun or a ascendant, or a conglomeration of planets is usually what I'm looking for, maybe even a midheaven as well. Because I think overshadowing the significant things, the conjunctions, like the new moon, which is a conjunction of the moon and the sun, the Uranus and Jupiter conjunction, that this Mercury retrograde is going to play into this month of April with regards to some delays. So there's going to be a lot of good things happen to a lot of good people, but there may also be some upsets too. Now, I would say that for me, this whole Mercury retrograde, certainly once it goes direct on the 26th of April, yay, that will be good. But I'm really going to say that it's got to get out of shadow. And the out of shadow period is going to start on the 14th of May. And so if during this month of April, some of you are, say, in negotiations, or you're almost on the verge of getting things through or getting agreements of some sort. I'm thinking in particular about agreements, contracts, getting your voice across. Don't give up, because really I'm thinking because of the significance of this month and the play in of so many things, we may really have to wait for a signal forward, especially with regards to independence, getting on a new path, expressing your individual self till, that May time period that I've just discussed. But apart from that, we have that total new moon eclipse that is going to be at 19 Aries 23 minutes on the 8th of April, and that will be at 11:20 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. It will be conjuncting Chiron exactly. It will be widely conjuncting the north nodes at 15 Aries. And Mercury will be retrograde at 24 degrees of Aries. We're going to have Mars conjunct Saturn because they're both in Pisces. That's at 13, 14 degrees of Pisces. And there will still be this ongoing, within a few degrees, conjunction of both Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. We're talking about this 19 to 22 degree point here, right? So really, if you look at the chart here, you can see that Aries is just stacked with regards to influence of any of these planets or luminaries, right? So Aries for sure. And I would say probably all Aries, whether it's an Aries ascendant or Aries sun sign, that you're going to be having some positive change here of some sort, wherever this falls in your chart, right? Now, when we look at the eclipse in terms of, and there's a lot of things published already, I'll put a link below here to a little bit more of a timeline for the eclipse happening. But basically, it does transverse North America. It starts with Mexico and then goes through Texas. And it's in Texas that it really starts its real coming to the actual eclipse point. Then it ends in Maine, and in Canada that would be New Brunswick. So this is pretty significant that this is going through, you know, from the southwest right the way through the northeast. And so there's going to be some kind of new beginning here with regards to, and from a collective standpoint, us moving forward on our individual path. Now, we do know that Mars rules Aries, and Mars likes to take action. So I would say as a month, this is going to be an action month, just from even a collective standpoint. But if you have a lot of planets, angles around these degree points that I've just mentioned, especially for the eclipse, hey, this could be the month that you could take off. Just with that caveat where there may be a few things to tie up in May when we have that Mercury out of shadow. Now, going along with this eclipse, it's not just the eclipse. I mentioned that Devil Comet. Scientifically, what this comet is called is 12P Pons Brooks. This is going to be going on at the same time. And in fact, if you're listening to this video in March, when I'm making it, we have that whole Devil Comet will start its activation close to Earth, or coming towards Earth, in March, mainly towards the latter part of March. So that's going to be an ongoing thing with the full moon eclipse that's going to be happening on the 25th of March, right? So I would say the whole activation of both these eclipses is really going to start in March and then start playing out with intensity once we get into April. Now, this comet that I spoke about will actually have a peak brightness on the 21st of April, and the 24th of April will be its closest approach to the sun. And then on the 2nd of June, the closest to Earth. So these are also dates to pay attention to. We usually look at comets as harbingers of important messages, but this is a process, right? We have this process of this comet starting towards the end of March, ending really when it comes close to Earth on the 2nd of June. And there could be more than one message that comes through here, right? All right. We have that whole Mars that is, as I mentioned, in Pisces all of April. And because it's that ruler of the eclipse in Aries, I think it's an important player here. Now, Mars in Pisces can represent a number of things. It can represent some frustrations where the effect of the Pisces part of it, which can be to obscure, to present some fogginess or unclearness with regards to actions that you may want to take, may be prevalent all month as well as a background noise. So again, don't get frustrated. Just the best way to handle anything like this would be to look carefully at anything that doesn't make sense. That's how I would use this Mars in Pisces all of April, in conjunction with everything else going on. But it can also be a time period of really taking assertive action with regards to what? Our spirituality, the higher points of ourselves. It can also even play out as something like rest. That whole Pisces, that rules the 12th house, and rest is very much something that's emphasized by that 12th house. So you may literally, some of you, take action with regards to, I need to rest more here and take a break. But this whole spiritual aspects, I think, are coming to play here as well. Now, Pisces as a sign also represents water or liquids of any sort, for that matter. And so with a Mars on top of it, which is action and even irritation or aggressiveness, I'm thinking there could be some aggressive action that happens on the waters. Now, we already know in the news that that's happening, but this could increase in April. At its best, Mars in Pisces really speaks to that spiritual warrior, right? And seeking and putting energy into the higher aspects of ourselves. Also, it speaks to putting some kind of action, maybe even plans in place to make our dreams come true. I mean, that's very much a great inspiration for those that are in the music industry, write poetry, and even in the arts. This could be a time to produce some phenomenal stuff, especially in conjunction with that eclipse, the new moon total eclipse, right? All right. The 11th of April, we will have Mars conjunct Saturn at 14 degrees of Pisces. And so look to the southeast sky just before sunrise. You'll see both these planets. You should be able to see them both with your eye, but if you've got binoculars or a telescope, that would be awesome too. But to me, this really emphasizes this whole idea of, because it's in Pisces, this can also represent, this idealism in religion. And so this may also come to the front. But Mars likes to put action. And Saturn says, no, we got to stop here. But favorably, you could put Mars with Saturn and break up structures that need to be broken up. And in Pisces, we're really looking at these idealistic religions. That type of thing, I think, could really come to the fore here, where there may be some aggressive action to do with that somehow. But this can just on its own represent breaking apart structures, right? I want to wish my sister Marianne a very happy birthday. She has a big milestone birthday this year in April. So happy birthday, big sis. I'll talk to you soon. I want to mention one other thing that's going to be in the sky in April time periods. This is towards the beginning of April. So this is like the 6th of April, just before we have that total new moon eclipse in Aries. We're going to have a triple conjunction, and it'll involve the moon, Mars, and Saturn. And look to the southeast before sunrise to see all three of these. You should be able to see. You probably see the moon first, so spot the moon, and then look for both Mars, which will be brighter than Saturn, and then Saturn as well. Maybe bring your binoculars out to take a look at this. Now, in terms of astrology, these are not exact in terms of conjunction, so this is more a visual thing that you will see at sunrise on the 6th of April. And I think this might be a nice time to, usually you don't do meditations or intentions until, after the new moon. But I really got a good feeling about this. So for those that do get up early anyway, this might set up some kind of really nice energy for you to tap into a few days later when we actually have that total new moon eclipse. So next I'm going to do the sun signs and or ascendants. You pick whatever resonates with you. I like to actually listen to both. And we'll do that next. So I want to remind everyone before I start talking about the sun signs that, ongoing with whatever I'm going to talk about, we have another layer. We've got the Mercury retrograde, and I really discussed the Mercury retrograde with regards to the individual ascendants and sun signs in my March video. And the reason I did that was because the shadow period started there. And because this Mercury retrograde is so important, because it ties in with the eclipses directly, look back to my March video if you want to look specifically at the effect of the Mercury retrograde. But understand for all signs, we've got the Mercury retrograde going on until the 26th of April. And then we still have to have it go out of shadow, and that's till the 14th of May. So just bear that in mind. Mercury retrogrades always ask us to rethink things, maybe even to redo things, rewrite things, consider things, that type of thing, right? And that we've got that whole comet called, the Devil Comet, that's also going to be going on, not only for April, but right the way through the beginning of June, bringing us some important messages, right? So when you think about it, the comet's bringing messages, Mercury retrograde's asking us to rethink or redo things, right? Okay, so just bear that in mind. So we're going to start off with you, Aries. because this is your new moon, Aries. And so it's a total eclipse. You've got, this is your time of the year to make things happen potentially. And like I said, we do have a Mercury retrograde going on, but hey, Aries, you also have Venus in your sign too. And Venus is direct the whole month, and it covers almost all the month too. So what is that going to bring in? Venus likes to attract, right? Venus likes to make things sweet. Venus can take those sharp edges off whatever might be happening in April. It can bring in love for us. It can bring in money for us. It can increase our value. So Aries, this could be a pivotal month, maybe for your whole career, if that's something that you want to change, or anything in your life that you think is important for you to be independent on, to express your individual self, to forge that maybe road that you want to go on, to pioneer anything that you really have wanted to do maybe for some time. This is the time to do it. We're talking here about the 8th of April. Now, the eclipse itself is around that 19 degrees of Aries. So realistically, you have to have something pretty close to that. And I tend to keep my orbs for eclipses especially very close. So I'd say a couple degrees on either side at the most to have any real effect. Because sometimes these things go by without us really seeing anything much. But all Aries, I've got to say, with the Mercury retrograde and Venus also direct in your sign, there's going to be something beneficial come your way that either is for new starts, getting you independent, expressing your independent individual self, and forging a new road for yourself. Like, this is packed for you this month of April, right? Okay. What else did I want to speak about here? Yeah, we talked about the Venus. When we look at that whole Mars, Saturn type thing that's going to be in Pisces, that's actually going to be in your 12th house. So you're going to have this whole influence of Pisces also in your life in April, both with Mars and with Saturn, whether they're conjunct or not. And so this could just be stirring up some, maybe just cleaning up parts of your life that haven't been cleaned up for a while, right? And that's in preparation for first Mars going into Aries, which it will, and then of course Saturn, that's going to be in another year or so, going into your sign as well. So I really see also there may be this activity going on for you, Aries, where you start looking at things that maybe have been holding you back, and you start making decisions to let them go. For others, it may just be you delving into the spiritual world, the metaphysical world, and actively getting involved in it. That's what I'm thinking for some Aries. And so we'll just cover this Mercury retrograde briefly to say that it does start on the 2nd of April. And it will be at 27 degrees of Aries and end at 16 degrees of Aries later on in the month. And so again, you have to look at these degree points. But, if you think about it, that 27 to 15, 16 degrees of Aries covers at least half of the degree points that we're talking about in the sign of Aries. So the Mercury retrograde, I would say, is generally going to affect probably most Aries out there. So, Aries, just do double checks of any kind of communications that you're involved in. Anything to do with computers. Even, take a look at your thoughts, how you're thinking about things, and how the effects of your thoughts may have to be revised with regards to, say, this new start, this big new start that you want to make in your life. All right, Aries, take care. So Taurus, when we look at this total new moon at 19 degrees of Aries, well, that's in your 12th house. And when we look at the effect of both Mars, which rules that eclipse in Aries, as well as Saturn in Pisces, we're really looking at the 11th house for you, right? And so it's both the 12th house and the 11th house that are in some ways activated. More so, I would say, the 12th house, so that eclipse. But favorably, Taurus, you're going to have your ruler, which is Venus, is going to also be in that 12th house of yours. And the Mercury retrograde will happen there too. I suspect that a lot of Taurians will be doing a lot of work behind the scenes here. Maybe reevaluating some things, maybe planning, putting in plans of some sort as opposed to taking action. The 12th house really is behind the scenes. It's not coming out into the open like Aries is. So there may be some new starts for you with regards to, say, work behind the scenes. And behind the scenes, that can include things like hospitals, ashrams, and especially since this is Pisces, we're really speaking to spiritual as well as metaphysical aspects as well, right? But this could be a chance, I think, for some Taurians to really go back maybe, especially with that Mercury retrograde operating in that 12th house, to be able to go back and maybe start up some discussions of some sort to maybe revise something that you're doing. But you could also say be working behind the scenes or in institutions where you've got to work behind the scenes to put new things in place, new actions in place for the structure that you're working in. And as I said, hospitals is one example, ashrams, prisons, any government offices, anything that's behind the scenes. But the other thing, of course, we must remember that Pisces is also not only a spiritual sign, but it's also the sign that we look to that represents dance, the music industry, also the film industry. So this may be a time, if you're in those professions, to really put some new initiatives in place and maybe discussions with regards to an initiative in that area as well. Now, when we look at that 11th house that I discussed, where that Mars as well as Saturn is, well, I mean, the 11th house at its highest represents your hopes, dreams, and wishes. But typically we talk about the groups you belong to and your friends. So there may be some real activations here with regards to dealing with maybe older friends. Certainly Saturn can represent an older person. Saturn can also represent your father in your natal chart. So this could also happen with some Taurians, that is activated. You could also have, say, put new structures in place, take action to put new structures in place with regards to new groups that you want to form. Maybe you're going to form some new groups here. This is also, if you've got your own business, and some Taurians will, this could also be a time when you put new structures in place, like you take action to put new structures in place to get more longevity out of the income that you earn. But certainly this could be a time where you put energy into formulating and putting structure around, whether it's physical structure or metaphorical structure, around your hopes, dreams, and wishes, Taurus. Take care, Taurus. All right, Gemini. So Gemini, this total new moon eclipse that's at 19 degrees of Aries on the 8th of April, well, it sextiles your sign, and it sextiles your 11th house. The 11th house is a great house. It's the house of our hopes, dreams, and wishes. It's also the house of our friends, the groups that we belong to. It also speaks to the income that you earn through your own business. So all these things could be activated with regards to new starts, right? And indeed, there may be some Geminis that they can see the possibility of a hope, dream, or wish coming true, looming in the distance. But remember that we do have a Mercury retrograde that's still going on. And then we've also got that comet that's going to be operating. Both these energies, the comet and the Mercury retrograde, are all about communications and messages. And so this may be also an important time period where you have some important messages come through, or you go back and look at some messages, some writing even. This could be writing. That's also a Mercury activity as well, right? But communications, generally speaking, are going to be important with regards to new starts, and this will involve your friends and groups that you belong to. Perhaps they will provide you with some opportunities to move forward with your hopes, dreams, and wishes. When we look at Mars and Saturn in Pisces, well, that squares your sign, and that's your 10th house. So the 10th house is your career. So this is you wanting to put something forward in your career. Now, this can be your reputation, as well as your social standing. So those may be up for some change in the structure of those. Your career could be up for some change or structure. And, the birthing process of that may be, not so easy for you. Maybe you've got to check off a few more boxes before you can achieve or get that structure in place that you want to in your career so that you can move forward with your career, right? So we're talking about the Mars with the energy and wanting to move forward and take action, and the Saturn, which is all about structures, and it's in that 10th house of career. So I think a lot of this for Geminis is going to be, really putting effort into, putting energy into getting that career organized. And it just may not be as easy as you expect. But hey, take this new moon eclipse, total new moon eclipse, to leverage that 11th house, right? Which is your friends and the groups you belong to. So do a think for those Geminis that are finding difficulty getting, I'm getting this, launching your career. Leverage your friends and the groups you belong to. Think about that, because you've got lots of good luck happening there, right? Not only do you have that eclipse, Gemini, but you've also got Venus, and Venus is a big attractor, right? So you could have some good benefits come through that 11th house with the eclipse, because we've got Venus in Aries as well. But as I said, we've got this Mercury retrograde going on in Aries, and really it's not coming out of shadow until May time period. So don't panic if everything doesn't get in place with your career. It'll play itself out. Just do your best and what you can do to put effort into things and allow things to play out. But understand that it might be a little bit later than April for everything to be settled, right? Take care, Gemini. All right, so we have Cancer. Well, Cancer, this total new moon eclipse at 19 degrees of Aries on the 8th of April will actually square your sign, and that's going to be in your 10th house. And you will also have that Mercury retrograde and Venus all squaring your sign. So I think what this could bring in is, for some Cancers, that working on your career, working on your reputation or your social standing may require some effort. It may require you to think outside that box. So there's going to be some Cancers that want to make a new start in their career, and they see it and they want it, and they just can't seem to make it happen. There seems to be a delay here, especially with that Mercury retrograde starting at the 1st and 2nd of April. There's a delay. So just work with whatever the energies are that are maybe delaying this or asking you to check off that box. I mean, I can think back a couple times in my career where I wanted to change my career, and I kept being asked to come in to interview again and again. In fact, I think one job that I interviewed through, this was years ago, I think I had to go in 6 times or 7 times, but I was given the job. And the reasons were that there was such a close similarity between 2 candidates, and I was one of them, that they couldn't make up their mind, who should we accept, that person or this person. And the only difference is that I had basically just come out of doing a Ph.D., and the other person had actually been in the job that she was in for some years, and they decided to take me because I was more malleable in terms of, fitting in with the company and that. So don't despair, Cancers, if you've got something like this happening. Now, Venus, even by square, isn't necessarily going to bring you something bad. Venus could, just like Jupiter, soften all the effects that could have been worse. It could be a female. That's the other thing that this whole Venus can bring in. It can also bring in some sort of money thing, where maybe you've got to pay for something, maybe some kind of license that you didn't count on having to do. So all these things may be up, but you're building towards this new thing, right? It's not a full moon. It's a new moon, and it's an eclipse. We've got that comet going on top of this as an influence. So important messages are going to be coming through just with the comet as well. Now, when we look at the effect of Mars and Saturn in Pisces, well, we know this trines your sign, and it involves your 9th house. So now here's some real positive energy. So say you're trying to do a career, maybe your career right now is actually getting advanced degree. Well, that is the 9th house. So even though you may be having some frustrations with that for the new start, you've got this trine happening. And Mars and Saturn together in the 9th house, if we just look at, say, advanced education, this is more seasoned people, maybe males, that's Mars, helping you out with regards to getting you maybe placed in some advanced degree of some sort, maybe even a postdoc. For others, it may be getting through some kind of legal wrangling comes favorably for you during April time period. For others, this is also travel. So there may be some Cancers that are activating some long-term travel of some sort. Maybe that career change is going to involve travel, and you get some favorable energy around setting up structures to easily do that, right? This is also publishing, so there's going to be some Cancers that may also be publishing at this time, and that trine is going to bring in an expert, probably a male, to help you out. So there are some positive things here for you too. And at its best, that 9th house is also meaning in life. So those Cancers that are more advanced state, you could really have some activation in here with regards to karma, that's Saturn, and meaning in life, right? And that might work at an internal level. All right, Cancer, take care of yourself and don't give up. So for you, Leo, that total new moon eclipse at 19 degrees of Aries on the 8th of April, oh my gosh, it's a fellow fire sign. That trines your sign. Oh my gosh, this is absolutely awesome. It not only trines your sign, it trines the 9th house. And don't forget that we have Venus also in Aries trining your 9th house. But we also have, of course, that Mercury retrograde ongoing almost all month that will also be trining your sign. So what does that mean? It means that there may be you may have some negotiations with regards to publishing something that you want to make this new start with regards to publishing. It can also have you having to negotiate something with regards to a legal matter of some sort. But hey, this trines your sign, and it's going to be positive for you. This is a new start in that area. It is also, advanced education and just universities generally speaking. So there may be some Leos that have a new start with regards to a university setting or advanced degree at this time. And still others, some Leos, wow, this whole trip of a lifetime comes through. That 9th house also rules foreign people, foreign things. So those people may be very, very lucky for you at this time, and may even involve you having something to do with a foreign connection. That's very positive for you. And this is also meaning in life. So those advanced Leos may have some very favorable things happen to them that really enforce this meaning in their life in a positive way. But that Venus trining that 9th house can also bring money to you as well. Maybe money from a legal matter. It can also, for those Leos looking for love, that Venus could favorably bring in a foreign person that becomes a love connection for you as well. Now, when we look at the Mars-Saturn in Pisces, that's going to be in your 8th house. And so this says to me that you may be changing up some of the structures with regards to shared resources. For others, it may, the 8th house can represent our psychological selves. This literally could mean some Leos will take up some kind of psychological counseling at this time. And certainly if you are in the business where you are a psychologist or even a psychiatrist, this could have some big activation for you where maybe you're elevated to some point where that Mars puts action in with regards to you being seen as an expert. So that may be another thing that happens here, where you're being seen as an expert here, and maybe have to do something, take some actions of some sort. Maybe even with regards to clients, if you have clients in that area. For others, this could also be an activation of, a very serious relationship, and sexual relationship could come into play. But it can also, activate longevity with regards to your shared resources, your investments, that type of thing as well. But this is real positive for you with this trine, Leo. All the fire signs are going to really benefit, for sure. So look forward to that, right? I mean, it just is off the charts. And, I haven't mentioned this, but we have the North Nodes also in Aries too, trining your sign. And so there may be, for some Leos, some real destiny activation in a real positive way that really involves all those areas that I spoke about with regards to the 9th house. Foreign people and foreign things might be very important for you, as well as legal matters, travel, especially long distance travel, publishing, that type of thing, or anything to do with universities or higher education. All right, Leo, take care of yourself. So Virgo, when we look at this total new moon eclipse, that is in Aries at 19 degrees on the 8th of April, that falls in your 8th house. And don't forget that you will also have, at the same time, you will have the Mercury retrograde happening there. Venus will be operating there. And of course, the North Nodes are there too. So this is a big activation of things that are shared resources. This is your investments. And I would say you may, with the Mercury retrograde, have to renegotiate some things, or, negotiate something, say it's a financial advisor that you're working with, to set up maybe some new forms of shared resources, or new forms of long-term investments of some sort. That would be a good way to be using this, because it's a new moon, right? And in Aries, it's like this new initiative. So I would use the Mercury retrograde in terms of negotiating, working with people like financial advisors, that type of thing. Use it that way, and it will benefit you. But it's almost like I'm getting this feeling that you're going to have some pretty interesting opportunities here to set up your future investments, and or like say you're setting up a new business and there's got to be some shared resources going on. This is all real favorable that way too, right? Yeah, and Venus in there too could bring money your way. So Venus could bring some money your way, and it may be money that you didn't expect. Money being given to you, right? Maybe an investment pays off here, or you cash in something, you say, wow, I didn't realize I was going to get that much. Or I didn't realize I had that 401k that I forgot about. And that comes to light for you, and you're able to bring that into the fold with regards to your investments. But pay attention to what investments you make at this time. They could be very favorable long-term for you. I mean, the other thing the 8th house is as well is, our psychological selves, and it's also our secrets. So because this is a total new moon eclipse, there could be some secrets that come out that allow you to make a new start in a positive way. But this could be a great time for those Virgos that say want to take up psychological counseling. This could be a good start for that. It can also be the new start of a serious sexual relationship as well for other Virgos that are looking for that. Now, when we look at the effect of Mars, which is the ruler of that eclipse, and Saturn in Pisces, well, we know that that opposes your sign. And so there may be something going on with a partner or partners that they may be actively trying to set up some structure in their lives that affects you directly. So it's like you're looking at it, right? And it could have something to do with spirituality, because Pisces does represent that. Pisces can also represent the metaphysical world of any sort. And it might be that your partner is getting involved in something to do with that, right? There also could be something come up, I mean, on its negative side, that Mars together with Neptune could bring in maybe some cloudiness with regards to something your partner maybe wants to do, because that whole thing is happening in your 7th house of partnerships. For those Virgos that do have business partnerships, this could stir up something with regards to maybe this business partnership where there's some action being taken. And I'm thinking action behind the scenes that you need to be paying attention to. So there is that other side of it. But generally speaking, I'm seeing this as your partner, something happening with regards to your partner. And hey, like I said, it could be something where your partner takes up a spiritual practice of some sort, and you're observing that, right? All right, take care, Virgo. So Libra, when we look at this total new moon eclipse at 19 degrees of Aries, well, we know that that opposes you, right? And so this is your 7th house. And don't forget that we also have the Mercury retrograde happening there in your 7th house. You've got Venus in there as well. And of course, the North nodes are also in Aries. So this puts a huge emphasis on your partner, whether it's your marriage partner, serious relationship, or it could be a business partnership, or it could just be clients, especially if that's what you have, Libra, in your life. There could be some really big new start here. It could also involve you with the Mercury retrograde having to negotiate, maybe negotiate contracts, maybe even put some energy into communicating and putting together documents of some sort with regards to maybe your clients or this partnership, this business partnership that you're putting together. For others, this actually could be a time when you decide to get married, right? Because we've got the North nodes there too. And Venus is just going to be adding in this lovely, soft, sweet energy into all 7th house matters, right? So money could come in for you too. Mercury retrograde could delay it a bit, or you have to negotiate for it. That's about the only negative side of that. But yeah, there's going to be some Librans that will actually be getting married at this time. And wow, that total new moon eclipse will certainly support that, right? Just take care with that Mercury retrograde if you are doing that, to check all the details. Any communications could be misinterpreted, so double, triple check that people understand what you're saying or not saying. Okay, so when we look at that Mars and Saturn that will be operating in Pisces, well, that's going to be in your 6th house. So this could be a couple things. The 6th house, typically we speak about your day-to-day job, and if you do not work, it's what do you do day to day. It is also your health as well. So there could be something come up in both these areas. Generally speaking, when I looked at this, I was thinking that this is a restructuring of the job that you're doing. And so this could come from the outside, right? Where the company says, we're restructuring your department here, or we're restructuring your job, and now you're going to have to do this instead. So, you know, go with the flow on that, work as best you can. But if you know this is coming, maybe you could do something in advance with maybe contributing something to it, as opposed to having it happen to you, right? But the other thing is health. And so there could be some aspects of health come up here that are important for you to look at. Now, Mars certainly adds action to it, and Saturn really brings in an element of, someone who is an expert. So certainly for those Librans that maybe have some health issue come up, this is going to be a great time for you to seek out, that's Mars, an expert of some sort, that's Saturn, to help you out with any of these matters. But this would be a great time to take up a spiritual practice. If you don't meditate, you could find that that whole action of Mars and Saturn together in Pisces can help you activate maybe a meditation practice of some sort that benefits your health. All right, take care of yourself, Libra. So Scorpio, this total new moon eclipse at 19 degrees of Aries on the 8th of April is going to be in your 6th house. So that 6th house is going to be activated not only by the eclipse, but they're going to have a Mercury retrograde there, Venus is there, and of course the North nodes. So this is a big focus on what? Your day-to-day job. If you do not work, it is going to be your things that you do day-to-day. It is also your health. So all these things can be activated. The positive thing I like about this is that Venus tends to take sharp edges off things. It likes to be sweet. It likes to attract in benefits. So, for some Scorpios, you may attract in some kind of benefit of some sort in your day-to-day job. Maybe you'll get a new job with lots of nice benefits associated with it. In particular, with Venus, the females could be really good for you and be beneficial to you. It can bring in more money for you as well. There's going to be some folks that are going to see that happen for them. But it could just be a new job is up for you, where you get you negotiate with that Mercury retrograde to get more money. That's the Venus, to start this new job. That's the total new moon eclipse in Aries. At a more sort of simple level, there could be some Scorpios that just actually decide to have a new start with a new small animal in their lives. That brings maybe a health aspect for them, right? Now, when we look at that Mars-Saturn that will be in Pisces, we're really looking here at a trine with you, right? Because that's a fellow water sign. And it's going to be trining your 5th house. Well, that's super positive here for you, Scorpio. That's going to bring in, if you want to start your own business, so that Mars-Saturn together, right, likes to put action, to put structure together, this could be a positive time to start a new business. There may also be some Scorpios that take on the responsibility of a child at this time, right? Saturn can represent responsibilities. For others, this could be a time, because it's a trine, there could be a start of a serious relationship at this time too. The 5th house represents new love and true love. But it also represents, being our authentic self, especially as it applies to creative projects. So, hey, Scorpio, you may have some real great creative project brought your way. Maybe your supervisor, Saturn, is going to ask you, would you like to do this creative project? And you realize, wow, this resonates with my authentic self. I would love to do it. So all these things can be up for you. One of them might be up for you. But this is a real positive influence for you, especially with regards to things moving forward in these areas, right? All right. Take care of yourself, Scorpio. So Sagittarius, wow. So you're a fire sign. And so you know that this total new moon eclipse at 19 degrees of Aries on the 8th of April will be trining your sign. And not only that, you're going to have Mercury retrograde trining, you're going to have Venus trining, and of course the North nodes trining. Very positive. And this actually emphasizes your 5th house. So your fifth house is what? Your fifth house is children. It is expressing your authentic self. It is starting your own business, for instance. It's creative projects of any sort. It's also having fun too. And Sagittarians certainly like to have fun. So this might just be a whole new start in your whole life of having fun. But it could also be a time period where a true love comes into your life, right? That's really positive for you. And it's a total new moon. So this is a whole new start, potentially with regards to your love life. Yeah. And there could be a destiny thing associated with this in a very positive way. I'm getting this feeling of something being set up that's going to be really positive for some Sagittarians. But having fun could be a big emphasis here for you, where maybe you've had a hard time over the past few years, and you actually see the, the sun breaking through the clouds and the silver lining appearing for you, right? I'm actually a Sagittarian sun sign, and this exactly, this eclipse trines not only my sun, but exactly trines my north nodes of the moon, because I was born on an eclipse. And it also very widely trines my Mercury. So I'm expecting big things for myself in a positive way too. Okay, so when we look at that Mars and Saturn in Pisces, it squares your sign Sagittarius, and it squares the fourth house. And so what this is saying to me is, I'm thinking of a couple things. So for those Sagittarians that have a lot of, say, reconstruction going on, or deconstruction going on, or construction going on in their home, this is just a little bit of a frustrating energy where you wish it would all be over with, but you can't see that that's going to happen, especially in the month of April. And so it just brings in a little bit of frustration here, where you're going to have to maybe work with people, maybe men in particular, because that's Mars, to overcome something with regards to your home. Now, it's not just your home, your physical home. It can also be your birth home as well. There may be something up with that, where there's some difficulties. Saturn can also represent the law, the rules, the regulations. Maybe you're butting heads with this type of thing too, and you're going to have to think outside the box, and apply those rules and regulations that you have to a home. Maybe it's building a new home, acquiring a new home. But it's also your mother, as well as, by extension, your family. So there may just be some, I'm thinking about consternations or disagreements going on here. Mars with Saturn. Mars wants to move forward, and Saturn says, no, you've got to stop and you've got to wait. So there may be some reason that mother or family is requiring you to wait, or you have to wait with regards to either this new home you want, or a situation in a home. That's what I'm thinking here. I mean, Sagittarius, you're a positive sign. Think outside the box. You're great for thinking outside of the box. Make it a win-win situation and you should be fine. But that total new moon is off the charts awesome for you. So really leverage that, right? Leverage that to especially start maybe your own business, expressing your authentic self, or any kind of creative project's going to be, it's got rockets underneath it, with it being in the first sign of the zodiac, Aries, right? Take care, Sagittarius. So Capricorn, that total new moon eclipse at 19 degrees of Aries on the 8th of April is involving your fourth house. And it squares that fourth house. Now we also have the Mercury retrograde forming a square, Venus forming a square, and the north nodes. Having Venus there is going to be super positive, even by square. Venus is going to want to make things sweet. It's going to want to attract in some benefits for you. It's going to take some rough edges off things for you as well. So remember that as you're going through maybe some difficulties with regards to what? Maybe acquiring a home. Fourth house represents the home you live in, the home you might want, even your childhood home. So all these areas could come up for something where you've got to think outside the box, where there's a bit of a challenge, and maybe with that Mercury retrograde, you've got to do a lot of negotiations. But just remember that. Just try to make it a win-win here, right? Females may be a focus for some reason. Maybe it's a female that's in the actual home. The fourth house can represent your mother as well as the family. So these could also be up for some challenge of some sort. And these can play out in different ways here. But remember, this is a new start, right? So maybe the family, somebody in the family, your mother wants to make a new start, but it's not so straightforward. And you have to get involved here in it. And it involves you maybe having to deal with some challenges of some sort in that area. But it can, like I said, also be you wanting to maybe acquire a home. And for some reason, there's a delay in it, or you have to overcome some obstacle. So if that's the case for some Capricorns that you want to do that, hey, I'm making this in March. Start looking at that now and see what can I do now to make that run smoothly, potentially if something comes up for me, say buying a house or selling a house, for instance. Do your homework now before it actually occurs, right? But Venus will help you. Yeah, and especially females. So look for females to help you with any challenge that you might have to overcome. Now, when we look at that Mars and Saturn together in Pisces, well, we know that that forms a sextile with you, Capricorn. And so this is awesome. Let me just see what house that is in for you as well. I'm just going to take a look here for you, Capricorn. Yeah, so that's your third house. So going back to us talking about that whole eclipse where you might have to negotiate because you've got the Mars or the Mercury retrograde going on too. You've got a supportive thing here. So you've got both Mars and Saturn together, favorably aspecting, providing opportunities through communications. So I would say communications for the month of April especially are going to be really important to pay attention to here. You could have opportunities to have people reach out to help you. What type of help? Well, first of all, Mars is men, generally speaking, but Saturn also are experts. So again, we're making this in March. If you foresee now at this time period that something may be coming up in that area that I just spoke about, the fourth house, seek out someone who's an expert. Someone typically who's older, although I always say just because they're older doesn't mean they're an expert or they're an advisor. But that's kind of what it represents. It also represents rules and regulations. So take a good look at all those things, Capricorn. But you've got some positive things happening with that regards to that Mars and Saturn in Pisces, favorably aspecting you, right? So take advantage of that. Third house is also writing too. So there may be some opportunities for you to solidify your writing that you're doing right now. It's also short travel. So it could also have you put together maybe some plans with regards to what travel you're going to do, especially in the month of April. And it's positive, right? This is a sextile, is positive opportunities. All right, take care of yourself, Capricorn. Okay, Aquarius. So Aquarius, that total new moon at 19 degrees of Aries on the 8th of April, sextiles you. And it's in the third house. And remember, we've also got a Mercury retrograde going on, aspecting your third house. We've got Venus forward, it's moving forward direct, and we've got the North nodes also in Aries. So all these things are also favorably sextiling that third house. Third house is short distance travel. It's writing. It's communications of any sort. It's the early stages of education, but it falls in that whole area of education as well. So there could be some Aquarius that have some new starts with regards to a writing project. It could also be a new start with regards to some educational program. And it could literally be for some Aquarius that you're putting together an educational program. That's highly favored here. But just generally speaking, if you're doing any kind of educational thing, that total eclipse is going to favorably give you opportunities to make it happen, right? And with Venus there, we're looking at females potentially being particularly helpful. Venus can also bring in some money. Say you're doing a writing project and you need some money come in. A female can help that happen. It can also bring in values as well, and I'm thinking there may be some Aquarius that get recognized for the value of the writing that they're doing in some respect, or the value of the education that they're doing at this time. It can also, I'm thinking, bring in money with regards to you doing some kind of traveling around. Maybe your job, if you start doing some short distance travel, say around the city or the province or the state, you get more money coming in as a result of doing these little trips. Positive influence for you. Total new start in this area for sure. Now, siblings as well as neighbors are featured by the third house too. So there may be some big new start regarding both these areas as well, that they become intimately involved with you having this new start. Maybe you'll go to a new neighborhood. That could also be featured here as well. All right, when we look at the effect of Mars and Saturn in Pisces, well, that's your second house. So Mars and Saturn together in your second house can operate in a few ways. It can operate where you decide to take some action, some serious action with regards to the money that you make. How can that play out? It could play out where you decide to put a budget together so that whatever money you have coming in is used appropriately, and you know how much money's coming in and how much is going out. That would be an excellent way to use this for sure. The other thing that it can bring in for you is values. So the second house also represents values. It also represents your possessions. And so there could be some Aquarians that decide they want to bring in a spiritual side to their life that adds value for them, because this is in Pisces, don't forget, right? So this could literally play out where you put more value on maybe getting a meditation practice into place. For others, it could be where you decide to make your money, right? You decide to put some effort here. Maybe you're an expert, or you've received some kind of degree of some sort, where you now are an expert with regards to some kind of spiritual practice of some sort, and you decide that's where I want to make my money, and you put the structures down to make that happen. Yeah, that's a really positive way to use that too. For others, it can have you having to spend more money, but hey, sometimes those things happen. For others, it may be that you just want to buy some luxury goods and you decide to do it in the month of April. Take care of yourself, Aquarius. So Pisces, that total new moon at 19 degrees of Aries on the 8th of April falls in your second house. And don't forget, you've got a Mercury retrograde happening. You've got lovely Venus attracting beneficial things in for you. And you've got the north nodes there too. Wow. So there's going to be a lot of Pisces that attract in some new money here. This is income coming in for you. Now, the only fly in the ointment is you may have to negotiate for it. Or it may just take a little longer for you to get this to happen with that Mercury. Mercury retrograde's operating almost all month. And we're really looking into May before Mercury goes out of shadow. So don't get frustrated if the job you want, that's the second house, isn't coming through as fast as you want. Or there's a stall in negotiations, or someone's not getting back to you fast enough. Just do your job to follow up. And make sure you're always checking any email systems that you use where maybe something could go into another box. I have this happening all the time. Sometimes they go into my social email box. And so I'm checking everything all the time, because sometimes clients will contact me and for some strange reason, they don't come in my inbox, my primary inbox, they go elsewhere. So if you're waiting for communications, especially during April, make sure you're doing a double check that you're seeing everything that's being sent to you, and you're double checking that they've sent it to you, right? But negotiations could be up here for a lot of Pisces with regards to earning new income, right? This is a new start for you in this area. And it's also a new start, like I said, to your values. You may be valued more. More value placed on you, right? And with the north nodes here pulling in, there's some kind of destiny that's going on here. But know that Venus wants to bring you benefits. So Venus takes off that rough edge. It makes things sweeter. So that's sweetening that pot of the money that you want too, right? And like I said, females in particular could be beneficial to you. When we look at Mars and Saturn, and of course Neptune too, well, those are all in your sign, right? And so I see this whole setup with your first house. You could be taking some serious action here with regards to setting up new structures in your life. That's an awesome way to use it. Maybe some of you are retiring and you're having to, put, new structures around your life. Take action to put new structures in place. Others may be just taking up a whole metaphysical spiritual practice at this time. That would be a great way to use this too, where you're starting to learn how to become an expert in spiritual practices. And that would include healing too, because that could be shamanism as well for you, is what I'm thinking. But for you, Pisces, this is new income coming in for you. Just pay attention to the messages, negotiate, but know that Venus is on your side here. She wants to attract in some of that money, attract in some of that benefits for you, right? And Neptune operating in your sign at its highest, Pisces, is really beaming this message. We want your hopes, dreams, and wishes to come true. Dream big, right? And know that things do happen in a positive way. All right. Take care of yourself, Pisces. Hi, everyone. It's Elizabeth here from Alpes Astrology. I'd like just to give you a little more detail about what I do with regards to the services I can offer you. Certainly, I suggest that if you've not had your chart ever done, this would be a good time to do it. Contact me. All my contact details are below, and we can talk to each other back and forth and arrange something for you. So I offer different services. I offer a full astrology report for two of my services. One is where I look at both your natal chart and your progress chart in detail. I accompany that with a physical chart, as well as your charts that I'm looking at for that year. I do what's called a transit chart, which really involves your progressed chart for that year in combination with your natal chart. I give you a report for that as well. Typically, I'd be updating an existing report for you. I have a lot of clients that come back to me yearly. And then the other service that I offer is a combination of taking a quick look at the astrology. Typically, it would be a year or 2 year, what stands out for me. Looking at that, and then adding in at the end a tarot card reading to accompany it. I record that and send that to you pre-recorded. So that's not a live session. The other two that I do are live session. And then I offer obviously custom. I do a lot of picking marriage dates, compatibility. I typically use what are called Davison charts or synastry as well, where I can combine two charts to see how do these two charts of these people work together. More often, it's going to be sort of romantic relationships, but it can also be business relationships too. How well do we work together type thing by producing one chart. So I do all that. As I said, I would love to do your chart. Contact me below, and we can work together to make that happen for you.